Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to another episode of the Blacksmith's Furnace with me, Robert.
With me, Pete.
Man, like Mo. Hey, did you man see the way Peter's camera transitioned him into the thing? Like as soon as we went live and like it just transitioned, man, smoothly.
Hey, Peter, can you come forward a bit for a second, please?
No.
Bring your face forward quickly.
No.
Bring it forward. Well, actually, I think we can see well enough. I was just thinking, me and Moses are always talking about these Amsterdam chips, But Peter's eyes are looking a bit, he's looking a bit like he's having some enjoyment.
Like
I went ahead of you.
Hey,
And he's a bit more calm today, a bit more, he's a bit laid back. He's
Yeah.
like, ooh, it's the vibes today.
he's been giggling more as well for some bizarre reason.
Are you hungry, Peter?
No, I feel sick.
Are you over 8?
No, I'm ill. I feel ill.
Maybe a little medicinal,
Puff, puff, pass. Clears the sinuses.
Chase.
I'm gonna take you guys seriously.
I need to tell you guys about a story I heard today. It was the wildest thing. So there was this random like Twitch streamer or something, and he was clicking through his browser, and then one person on his stream like paused and looked at what was on his screen, and one of the tabs was the wildest thing I've ever heard. So I don't know if you guys know what deepfakes are. I just learned about this.
Deepfakes, yeah.
Yeah. That's what
No.
Kendrick did in one of his videos, right? Where you
Yeah.
Well, there's deepfakes and then there's deepfakes, right? I'll get into it. So what it was discovered that this guy was looking at, he was. So basically, this guy had a friend, and his friend's girlfriend is like a YouTube streamer, whatever. So someone had gone and created deepfakes of her doing some things.
Man.
And then the guy had the deepfakes of his friend's girlfriend open, and that's what they saw.
Yo.
And he came to the whole apology. He was crying and all of this stuff.
Nah.
Busted.
That's mad.
Stress.
Well, that's wild. It's crazy. Like you can't be friends anymore. Like you went
Nah,
and
we
saw
can't
out
be.
fake pictures of my girlfriend.
Yeah, nah, we can't be. You can't be.
That is
Even if
crazy.
you're like, oh, it was curiosity and that. Nah, you don't be curious about my girl. Nah. Do you know what? Yeah, I saw this anime title, yeah, and as soon as I saw it, I thought of you, Robert. It was along the lines of like literally the title was about this long. Boy gets bullied by schoolmates, so he buys all of their mums as his harems.
I think I've heard of that one.
Peter's face.
It's mad.
And I think it's like one of those isekai ones where like he gets transported into this like either like this game world or like this like one of these fantasy worlds.
Do you know what? I just saw the title. I was like, yeah. Do you know what? I can't even
That
pay
doesn't even
attention to
sound
this
like
one,
anime. That sounds like borderline hentai.
bro.
No,
Yeah.
there was another one about this guy. I can't remember what it's called. This guy was getting sexually abused, beat up by all these people.
What are you guys watching?
No, I haven't watched it. It was in the news a while ago. And then he gets all the superpowers. He becomes the most invincible guy in the world. And then he makes it his mission to one by one. And no, he gets transported into the past, gets all the powers. He makes his mission to get revenge on each and every one of the people that assaulted him. It's crazy.
I can vouch for that.
What kind of revenge, though?
There's a reason I just said revenge because you know how anime can go sometimes. No,
Anime, yeah.
Anyway, hot seat. Who's in the hot seat this week?
I think it's Mo.
Is it me? Okay, yeah.
I was
yeah,
in the hot
yeah,
seat last
bring
week.
it.
Rob
Yeah,
the week
cool.
before. Cool. Can I go first?
You can.
Mo, I want 3 recommendations from you. 3 recommendations of pastors, or preachers or teachers, whatever, that you would highly recommend, and
Oh,
3 pastors, teachers that you would highly avoid.
highly
I want
avoid.
names.
You want names? Wow, man's like called them out.
The names and churches.
Wow. So do you know what? Funniest thing, I haven't been listening to preachers and sermons online for a while. I've just been like visiting churches and digging into the Bible myself. So based off of my previous list, John Piper.
These are the ones you
Solid.
recommend.
Yeah, these are the ones I'd recommend. Yeah, John Piper, solid stuff there. William McDowell.
The worship guy.
Yeah, he's actually a head pastor.
Yeah, no, and he's good. He's
Yeah, Deeper Life Fellowship, I believe. I know there's a guy that everyone is raving on about, Dr. Matthew Lawrenson or Stevenson or whatever. I wouldn't particularly say him, not for any good or bad reasons. I just don't listen to his stuff that much. And I think my last one, as a cop out, I'll put a slash. So I'll put 2 people in third. And I'm doing these ones on purpose. Because I think they're very easy entrance points. So Mike Todd.
This is still your recommendation.
Yeah. Mike Todd and slash, I've forgotten his name. I think it's like Stephen Furtick or Stephen whatever.
Okay.
That's a bit left field.
I did not see that coming.
And that's why I said there's a reason. It's a very easy access point. Because they are very much, especially with Mike Todd with his gimmicks around illustrations and stuff. Yes, there's been some controversy around it, and I do believe that people are even calling him a heretic, and in a way that not even heretic, but him like kind of like questionable. So I would say that especially with the last 2, a lot of their topics are quite
basic,
practical and basic.
You focused.
Yes. And it's very much just like our relationships and like all of them things there. And so if you're looking for something topical, then you can kind of dig into these lot. And I would also say these lot are kind of like the milk. They're the milk section. Moving into what's his name? William McDowell and
Piper.
John Piper. Those ones are more like, like we're studying, we're getting into this thing, like we're breaking stuff down, we're doing these things. So that's more like moving into it. I know that Peter may bring out like the Chuck Missler, or there's another guy, Vody Bockham, who's decent. And those guys are heavy hitters. I would even suggest Paul Washer as someone to go to, but Paul Washer is very much fire and brimstone. He's very much fire and brimstone. So only go to Paul Washer if you're ready for conviction. If you're trying to avoid conviction, then yeah.
Would you say that he'll wash you in the word?
Mandem that I'll say avoid. I'm not gonna go for the bait names, the Creflos,
Nah.
the
Give us
Orlesteins.
something a bit more
I'm not
spicy.
gonna go for. I'm not gonna go for the bait names. I'll say TD Jakes.
Hey,
You're
wait,
coming for
hold on.
people,
The question,
you know?
question: how is TD Jakes different from Mike Todd, in your opinion?
So
That's a good question.
that is a very good question. That is a very good question. I believe TD Jakes is more of a motivational speaker than a preacher.
I think you can make the same argument for Mike Todd.
No, because I believe that Mike. So when Mike Todd is preaching, he tends to come with like a passage, and he preaches from that passage, and he's got his illustrations and all of them things. That it might be a lot more gimmicky, but it's off of one passage. What's his name? TD Jakes would more so come with a hype topic, and then just hype about that topic for the most of the sermon. So that's kind of like my distinction. And I was very intentional with the recommendation as well, because I was like, I wanted to give something that heavy hitting, but also easy
I've
access.
just been asked the question, Moses. The question was, when was the last time you listened to anything by TD Jakes?
Time ago. As I said, like, I haven't listened to sermons in a very long time, apart from churches that I'm going to. And it's because I used to spend a lot of time listening to people, and I felt like God was saying, spend time in the Bible as opposed to listening to people talk about the Bible. So yeah, I kind of reorientated stuff to spend more time in the Bible myself rather than listening to people preaching on it. And so I consume preachings at particular times. And that's why I'm struggling for people, because I'm like, I haven't listened to sermons online in about at least 3 years outside of the churches that I'm going to. So I haven't, yeah. And if I miss a church service, I don't listen online. I've missed it.
Okay, what was the last church you went to in person where the teaching was bad? Or not good? Say with your chest, bro. Say with your chest. Name and shame.
HTB.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, but then that doesn't necessarily reflect the church. That reflects
HTB is a big
the Sunday
church
you
with like
went,
a whole.
generally
HTB,
speaking.
yeah, it reflects that particular thing. And the thing is, to like extend grace to it, that church, that specific service, I saw it as like training ground for new and developing pastors. So they're constantly trying to raise new leaders and stuff, and I saw that church as almost the training ground for those new leaders they're trying to raise. And so the message was formulaic. You can see when one point was about to stop and another point was about to start. You could see that he was following like a protocol or structure, and I was just like, bro, like.
But then,
this,
was the content wrong, or were you just not impressed with the
do you know,
delivery?
I was not impressed with the delivery. I was not impressed with the content itself. It was just blah.
Well, we all got to start from somewhere.
We do, and that's why I didn't want to say it.
You only gave
know
one. You only gave one recommend to avoid, though.
Recommend to avoid. Another one I would avoid. I'm trying to crawl through.
I'm mad surprised how you're finding it. But hey,
you know, I'm actually remembering guys. I'm like, yo, yeah, my Don. I might actually kick out Mike Todd and that Futic Don. I'm gonna kick them out and slide in Francis Chan.
okay, yeah.
I'll slide in
you're
Francis
talking
Chan.
easily accessible.
Yeah. I'll slide in Francis Chan because he nails it. He hits the nail on the head, and he does what them two men are trying to do. But he like there's a lot more conviction. You got it, fam. There's a lot more conviction. There's a lot more depth, and yeah, like, and it is accessible. It is really accessible. So I'll put them three. Francis Chan, even what Tim Keller. Come on, how did I not say Tim Keller, bro? I would even say read Tim Keller's books.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, Tim Keller, man like C.S. Lewis. He's not a preacher in that, but his books.
He be preaching. He be preaching.
Even Spurgeon. Hey, what? I was sleeping, boy.
Wow, Spurgeon's like the Dragon Ball Z of preachers.
Yeah. Oh, Shenron. Dons to avoid. I've said TD Jakes, which I stand by. I'm not gonna say Joel Osteen or Creflo Dollar, even though I'm like, yeah, don't listen to them, man. There, Benny Hinn. I'm not gonna say him. I don't even know if these guys still preach.
Benny Hinn repented though.
Yeah, but
would you recommend Ravi Zacharias?
Zacharias.
I would say follow his teaching, not his practice. Who else? Don't listen to anyone on TBN.
Yo, I know folk that have been on TBN that are legit though.
Shout out to Joyce Myers.
No, that's
what?
not who I
Yeah,
was referring to.
Don't listen to Joyce Myers.
But I haven't listened to any of her stuff.
What's wrong with Joyce Myers? She writes all the books, bro.
Yeah, bro. I used to bang so much Joyce Meyer content when I first came to so much content. And again,
are you saying that it wasn't sound?
Do you know what? It was very. Yeah, it was meh. But for that stage of my faith, it was good. And it kind of
Well, you
led
say
me.
someone shouldn't listen to it.
And that's the thing that I am very mindful of as well when saying these things, because it's like there's a difference between God having used them as a stepping stone for me and me recommending them to somebody else. So it's like, just because Jacob had 12 children through 4 women, God used that situation. But would you recommend the next man to do that? No. So it's a bit like that. Would I recommend someone stick their hand in fire just because I like NHS healed my hand when I stuck it in fire? I wouldn't necessarily do that. Not saying her preaching is fire in the worst way. But yeah. I'm trying to look at some more contemporary people. I really dislike the guys on YouTube that try to discredit other people's ministry.
Well, like Ruslan channels. Ruslan doesn't even do that too tough, but there's a few channels that
I know. I was being silly.
Yeah, there's a few channels that it's just everyone is a heretic.
Oh, what? Even Joseph Prince.
Oh, careful! He's gonna fight you. He's gonna fight you.
It's Joseph Prince.
I would recommend Joseph Prince.
Oh, okay.
I would recommend Joseph Prince. I'm actually going on. There's this one YouTube channel, that I've got. Where is it? Did I unsubscribe?
Okay, you know what, Moses, whilst you're thinking about this third one, let me ask my question. Otherwise, we'll be here for a while.
Yeah.
Okay, so I believe I've asked Peter this question before, so I'm going to throw it to you. Moses, what do you think it looks like in the present day to look after the widows and the orphans?
Oh, I think it's not that it looks the same, but I got even a Bible project done. Yeah. I'll be honest, That's the place. Where's this pagan's name? Pastor Tim Conway, I believe. No, is it Tim Conway?
Never heard of him before.
Yeah, neither have I.
Bro, this Don, yeah, he's on the same channel as like Paul Washer and that, so he's of that caliber. But his preaching jars me. Let me get into that. I'll just give two. I've thrown out a lot, but Tim, I think his name is Tim Conway. This guy is so heavy on works. How did this guy start reining in on Joseph had the rainbow colored coat, right?
Yeah.
He started weighing in on Joseph, saying, why was Joseph in Potiphar's house when Potiphar wasn't there, when he knew that Potiphar's wife wanted to sleep with him? But he was playing around. He was playing around with sin. And I'm just like, bro,
I don't think that's how it happened.
I've heard that argument before.
And I'm like, it's very cute for you to criticize the man in hindsight.
Yeah.
Also, when he had responsibilities that he was actually taking care of in the house. You don't know the way in which, and the Bible doesn't insinuate that he did that on purpose to get caught. It's like, no, he was doing his work, but you're trying to criticize him in hindsight. And I'm like, brother, are you all right? And then you're using that as a catalyst to get them to and I'm just like, nah, I know you're on this righteous living vibe, yeah, and like, glory be to God for that, but that's not going to save you. So yeah, him's one person I was just like, I can't listen to this guy no more. Looking out for the widows and orphans right now, I think it looks the same in like sharing products in terms of food, money, phoning up on them, seeing if they're all right. But I think there's a lot more assistance from the state when we look at benefits, we look at just things that are available to people in general. Now, obviously, if you're a widow, the government isn't going to be like, oh, your husband died, let me give you extra whatever. No, if you can work, go work. And even the Bible sets a precedence there that widows who are truly widows, like over a certain age, have no children to kind of take care of them and stuff. I think Paul says that in one of his pastoral epistles. He was setting up guidelines as to like who truly qualifies as a widow, as not to have the church overly burdened. And I was saying if she can remarry, cool, let her do that. If she's young enough to be able to work, let her do that. And so there is this balance between those who are really needy and those who can be helped with a handout sort of thing, or need some assistance for a little piece. And so, yeah, I think it'll be means tested. I think there should be some legal support as well, in terms of accessing the right things that the government can provide. And I would also say there should be some like mental, emotional support and communal support from the sense of relationally, so that it isn't almost seen as like this charity case or something like that. But yeah, for them to still be dignified and held in high esteem, even as they're accessing the support and help that they need. But I think that the climate and socially is much different from it is biblically. And so there are a lot more governmental things that they can kind of pull on as well. So the church should factor that in terms of how do we grant better awareness and access to the things that they that are available to them, so the church isn't taking the full brunt of the support, but then the church also being there relationally to just kind of see how they're doing, seeing if they need help babysitting, like they need a babysitter or whatever, stuff like that, and just the practical stuff as well, and also like women's groups and like widower groups and all of them things there to just kind of get that relational support there as well. So yeah, I'll say there's one in terms of one thing looking like infrastructural, and I mean like governmental infrastructure, another one looking like relational, and another one like financial.
And for like orphans, do you feel like more Christians should look into fostering and adopting and stuff?
Okay. I tentatively say yes. I tentatively say yes. I mean, for a child to be brought up in a stable household can only do the child good. It does take a lot of emotional toll on the family. And I've heard horror stories in terms of people taking in children, sometimes even like extended family members, and the children they've taken in have ended up sexually assaulting their children. And so it's like you've almost taken in this child, which is now sexually assaulted your child. And that's one thing that I'm just like, I will not actively, I'm not on it. No parent will be on it. Well, no healthy parent will be on it. So I am tentative about that, to kind of place that charge on every parent. There'll be things that they would have to kind of work through. It could be a case of them financially supporting an orphanage rather than taking a child in, or volunteering at an orphanage, even volunteering for like the NSPCC and stuff. All of these things, in as much as it's not necessarily orphans that call in, but it is helping out children who are in real danger and real crisis and stuff. So yeah, there is an avenue. Not only if you feel led to foster, you could do that. Definitely. If you've got the capacity, and I know of people, and I know people who have been fostered and have been taken into Christian households, and they felt as though like they've encountered God and all of them stuff there. So yeah, but also if that's not the case, we also need funding, we need resources, we need stuff. And so again, it's like evangelism, going out to evangelize isn't the only way to spread the word of God. We can create the packs to evangelize, we can provide financially to evangelize, we can like give things and items and stuff to aid those who are evangelizing. And so there are different ways and to kind of support that ministry. So yeah, that's what I'll say.
Cool. I'm happy with that.
Sweet.
Anything from you, Peter, or are you good to go?
No, I'm good. I think that's on point. I think it just recontextualizes what was done then, looking at what they need and providing, which is what was done in the olden days. So
cool. Great. All right. So the topic for today. Oops. The sad thing about drinking from a clear bottle is you can't pretend you're drinking when it's finished.
why would you need to do that?
It just gives you something to do. Like, I've never been in a meeting, like a work meeting, and pretending to be drinking. So just me.
Pick up Peter's face.
I'm trying to figure out like if there's something else going on. I don't understand. But no.
Actually, like, oh yeah, that's great. I'll see what you say.
Do you know what I do?
Is this something you've done before?
So I haven't sipped on an empty bottle, but I start to sip like less amounts to make that last even longer.
Okay.
So yeah, I'll be taking fat gulps, and then as soon as it's halfway, all right, cool, little sips, and I'll be taking the little sips a bit more frequently. But yeah.
I saw this meme video where the guy was like, "Oh, if you put a tea bag in a cup, like you can drink like wine and nobody will know." And then the meme switched to a guy, and he take like a champagne bottle and put the tea bag inside that. And was simply during his work meeting. It was pretty good. It was pretty
love
good.
alcoholism.
Anyway, let's talk Sunday because something very special happened on Sunday. For the
Sunday
first
just gone?
time, yeah, Sunday just gone. For the first time in a very, 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 very long time, the whole furnace was in a church together.
Facts. When was the last time we were in the church together?
I feel like it was a time when we had to podcast at Peter's old church in Pentecost, and so we probably went to church there and then recorded afterwards. But apart from that, I can't think of. I can't really think of a time.
Mm.
It might have been Salvation Army.
Or they were more likely to do it Salvation Army, but I don't think we ever did it on a Sunday.
Yeah, and like I don't think it ever came for a service.
No, never came for a service.
Yeah, we came after our respective services and then we recorded. Yeah. Ah,
Or we came to like a midweek thing. We've been to a midweek thing before.
Have you?
I can't remember that.
Like a midweek. I don't know. There's like a youth thing or something. Like
When I was doing poetry workshops.
Yes, yeah. Pizza, poetry, and
Poetry, pizza, and
stuff
Polaroid.
like that.
Oh yeah.
And then that one crackhead guy came in that one time.
Yeah.
He wasn't
Wasn't
crackhead.
that the time that we were trying to escort the guy out and then Peter directed him to the toilet or something?
Did
Was
I?
it Peter or was it you, Robert?
It was probably me.
Because all the young people were like shook. And then we were trying to escort him out to be like, yo, like it's a youth situation. And then someone took him to the toilet. I'm just like, bro, he's gonna come back in. Like the girls are trying to bounce.
Yeah.
It was best sketchy. Anyway,
Everyone
yeah.
says,
So So Pete and I go to the same church, and then Moses and the family came to visit. So I thought it'd be nice to just talk about the experience since we were all there, and it's the first time in a very long time we're all in church together. I thought it was a cute moment. I didn't say it at the time because I didn't realize, but then I came and I thought and I realized I was like, oh, it's a nice thing to chop up. So Moses, as a visitor, how did you find it?
Do you know what? That was the first time that we were on time, relatively on time. I think we came at like 11:05.
Yeah. I was late, so we hadn't started on time.
No, Peter, you never start on time.
Mad.
Yeah, but this time was because I was late. It was my fault.
No, but even when you're on time, we still
Can I
start
talk? I keep starting a sentence and then you men are just bickering. Yeah, it was good to kind of walk in and have the whole experience. I think one thing that we really enjoyed, and this is definitely testament to you, Robert, in as much as I don't like giving you kudos too tough.
Hey.
But Noah specifically came back from children's church and he was able to tell us what they learned.
Hey.
And I was like, I respect that. Come more time they're just coloring in.
It was so funny. So like in children's church, I was going around asking the kids, what does being patient mean to you? And Noah was telling the story about how if you go on the bus and you don't have any money, you can't go on the bus. I was like, yeah. Okay. Sometimes kids can be talking and you have to encourage them. You can't say, what are you talking about?
Yeah, because like, obviously like Leia's 7, so she's been in and around church for a minute. Noah's only 3, so his exposure is much less. But also when it comes to 3-year-olds, they more have like a creche setup where they just kind of play and like coloring and stuff like that. But to have him go into something and then come out to say, yo, like it's patience means X. I was like, okay, yeah, like I really enjoy that. Yeah. And that's the first time that he's been able to recount what was taught. So that's really good. Yeah. So that's really good. So I was really pleased with that. Worship was good. I really enjoy the way that worship is. I enjoy the way that things are just free in that space. I was able to just go to the back, pick up a drum, give it to Gems, just like do all of that without feeling some type of way.
How was that experience for you, by the way?
Picking up a drum.
Yeah.
Why? Because I was short.
I can't lie. It looks like you were straining a bit.
No, I just reached up and I took it. I even put it back.
It took you a second.
Yeah.
It took you a second.
Oh,
Slightly worried. I was slightly worried.
got it. Is it Sophie?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
So I was like, "Oh, can I get a drum?" She was like, "Yeah." I was like, "I might need you to get it for me because I can't reach." And I see her trying to go for a chair.
I don't think she
I'm
got one. I
I'm
don't
like,
think she understood. Like, look, Nicola,
I'm
just
like,
reach
"Bro,
up.
you could-" So I was just like, "Cool." So I reached it and I grabbed it. Shimmied it down and then gave it to Gems, put it back up afterwards. But yeah, like for Gems this is the first full worship session that she's been in, and for her to even feel free to just rail on the drums was good. And the
It
kids
was nice
just
having some percussion for worship. It
yeah,
definitely helps.
yeah.
When there's a beat.
The kids just running up and down. So yeah, man, and even like Sean, her message as well was good, and I also find her like her response to me very interesting. I won't say nothing on the podcast. It's not negative, it's positive, but yeah, I won't say nothing on the podcast about that. But I enjoyed the message. I enjoyed just the whole service really, like the freedom in that service. And the uncertainty of where the church is at still being formed reflects where I am currently in like the season I'm in. And so it felt natural to kind of be in a space that was still being formed, because I feel like season, yeah, I'm in that season. I'm still being formed. Yeah.
How was it for you, Peter? Because you handle like a lot of the tech, so like the PowerPoint and the camera. How do you find being in the church service and whilst having to do all of that stuff?
And that stuff's not foreign to me. I think, as far as I remember, every church I've been in, at least in this country, because we don't have tech like that too tough when I was in Sunday school. you were lucky to touch the microphones. But yeah, every church I've been in, I've been involved in the tech just because that's where I naturally gravitate to. And I'm not skilled in talking to people or being friendly and those sort of typical things you expect from church. I'm skilled in tech, so my services, my ministry, my worship is there. So that's completely normal. I think it's, and this is oddly specific, but it's more awkward for me because the tech desk is at the front, and so if I get up to adjust the camera or I have to adjust the microphones and stuff, I feel like I draw attention to myself, which is uncomfortable and distracting to the church. But then again, that's a oddly specific thing that I need to address at church as opposed to regarding the furnace being there. But yeah, no, I thought it was really nice to see Gems like be able to drum, and yeah, Mo has a tendency of not informing anyone when he's coming with the family, so he'll just be there and it's like, oh, okay, cool, Mo's here. Which is fun, I guess. But otherwise, nice. It's good, and it's nice seeing. I guess you're being part of that, being part of a place that's wanting to really allow people to be themselves and not mold them into anything. And no, it's good. That's good.
Yeah, like Pip gets so excited whenever anyone new comes into church. It's like
Pip's he's an encourager, man. Like he's always hype. He's always hype. Yeah. Also, when he's not, it's very obvious. It's like, yo, Pip, what's wrong? How about
Oh.
yourself? How about yourself? Especially as you are coming from a church where you kind of did everything, and you are kind of doing everything. You did worship, you did kids, you did refreshments, I believe.
No, I did
That was
refreshments
a week before.
last week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Didn't you
Yeah,
bring
I
a
enjoyed
cake
it.
on
Pardon?
Sunday? Didn't you bring the cake on Sunday?
No,
Ah, cool.
no,
Yeah.
I don't know who brought the cake. Yeah, it was good. It was good. I don't know. I enjoy doing stuff, but I also like to pretend like I don't enjoy doing stuff. Yeah. Yeah, it was. Yeah, like when Moses and Jamelia came through, I was like, oh, I was feeling a bit self-conscious as well. Like, oh my god, they're gonna see me play the piano. I'm like, oh my god, this is so scary. That's because I'm not very confident in my piano playing skills, and like I feel fine when it's just like usual church people, but then when it's like you church people, it's like, oh, it's like an actual audience now.
It's like Mo's gonna critique my theology through
Yeah.
my playing.
I really don't know why everyone has that. Like,
Oh please, yes you do.
no, I genuinely don't.
You're here throwing TJ Jakes under the bus. Yes you do.
But there's a difference between TD Jakes, like the space that he like inhabits. Because yeah, like even Sean like mentioned the same, and I was just like, yo, don't do that. And that's what I was like, I was gonna talk about, but I didn't want to do it. I was just like, yo, like I genuinely don't. I get it, but I don't get it. I'm just like, do I really give off that vibe? Yeah, I'm like, raw, do I really give off that vibe? I can understand it from back in the day.
Andrea said yes.
Because you know what? I actually had an exchange with Andrea a while ago. And to be fair, I was tired. When I'm tired, it's a myth. So she had shared something about someone talking about God's provision to Israel, at the nation of Israel, after they came out of Egypt and stuff. And was the pastor was talking about us not relying on our provision and stuff. And I pushed back on it slightly. But in hindsight, I was like, yo, bro, I should have just left it. I didn't need to have sent a voice note or commented or anything. Plus, I was tired. I didn't need to do that. And so I can see her point. I can see her point. But yeah, I'm just like, yo, like man, them, because when I laughed, Sean was actually like, yo, I was just like, nah, like that's why I genuinely felt like I had to say to her, yo, like,
no, that's cool. That's cool.
I'm not getting at you, none of that. It's just like this is confirmation of something that God's been talking to me about already. And then as soon as the service finished, she's like, oh, what's God been telling you? I love her enthusiasm.
She literally jumped. She literally jumped when you said that. Yeah. It's encouraging,
and that's
isn't it? Yeah.
And that's the thing. I'm just like, I don't know why I am seen as that guy. I genuinely don't. I genuinely don't know why I'm seen as that guy.
Because you are that guy.
She's banging a master's at Oxford, a theology master's at Oxford. Like the levels are different.
No, but you know what? I think it's because of the way you're able to take in information and then like what's the word? Like give it out to people. People, not that you're like overbearing, but it can be a bit what am I trying to say? Peter, help me out. You know what I'm trying to say? Intense. It could be a bit intense. Okay. It could be intense. So yeah, I feel like it can get very deep very quickly. And like if you're not ready for that turn, you're trying to like Go give away to try to equal out.
Yeah. And to be fair, that's a neurodiverse trait. That's a trait with neurodiversity. So that makes sense.
Question for you, actually, Moses.
Mhm.
So, like within the church setting, I'm sure Peter always find himself at the tech desk. I'm sure I always find myself behind the piano. Where do you see yourself when it comes to serving in a church capacity?
I see myself floating. I see myself floating. So I would float. Welcome. I would float and welcome. I would float potentially in youth and a little teaching situation or preaching. So yeah, I think those would be the three. So when I say youth, I mean like small groups.
And are you talking more like teenagers than like kids?
Yeah, I'm talking more teenagers into early 20s. Yeah, late teens, early 20s, where they can actually dialogue and they've got stuff that they want to go through, and they won't just sit there and be like, "Oh, I don't know," but nah, they'll come with some meat and potatoes of situations. So yeah, I kind of see myself floating within those spaces. Yeah, welcome allows me to interact with people on a one-to-one without being in the crowd. And I'm preaching, I'm just talking at you, fam. You're not talking back. So yeah.
And for you, Peter, is there any aspect of serving in church that you feel like you'd want to maybe explore more?
Evangelism.
No. No, not at all. Just tech.
Aren't you doing Bible studies as well?
Yeah, you do Bible study.
Yeah, I do Bible studies. Yeah.
And you're a really good preacher as well, it must be said.
I like Bible studies.
Do you enjoy preaching?
I feel like I'd like preaching more if it was more interactive. If it was more like a steady. I don't know. I don't. It's the same thing with poetry. I don't feel like I've earned the right to be listened to per se.
But you know, when you preach, you get to shape what's happening.
That's true. If you want the preach to be interactive, you can make it interactive.
You can make it interactive.
Oh, okay. That's true. I could.
So you get to shape the what's happening while you're preaching.
Yes, yeah. I guess it's because of the formats I'm used to. Never think of doing it that way, but yeah.
So like simple. Yeah.
Oh no, I was going to say, it must be said, Peter. I do enjoy listening to you preach. You preach very well. It's very accessible and understandable. So
come on.
Appreciate it.
Come on. I was going to say, like, one easy way that I have seen people make their sermons a lot more interactive is they will
turn to your neighbor.
I hate them things there. I genuinely hate them. I went to a church 2 weeks ago and they did that. I was like, bro, don't do that. I'm not even gonna bait out the church that I went to. But even that church, the sermon time was a Q&A.
Okay.
They just did a Q&A, so they had preached a series, and then they're like, all right, cool, we're going to give you an opportunity to ask us questions about it. So they just took in questions, and then they asked the congregation as well as answer some of the questions themselves. But also another easy way that I've seen people do it is they'll have a bunch of scriptures, and then they'll just get people in the congregation to read out the different scriptures. So they'll be like, oh, can someone find like John 1, someone else go to Proverbs, whatever, and then they'll be like, right, whoever's got John 1, can you read it? And then it kind of makes it a bit more back and forth and not just you going through it. But there are different ways to kind of shape it. That is not just you talking at the people.
Yeah. Yeah. What about yourself, Robert? What would you do more? What would you like to explore?
Don't hold me to anything I'm about to say.
Peter's about to jot down the list.
And especially don't tell Pip. But I would like to maybe explore preaching more one day.
Oh, okay. It's a good thing I'm doing the rota.
Yeah, you know what? I feel like I enjoy writing the research and the preach more than I enjoy doing the
But
preach.
you do a good preach. Like every preach you've done has been very good, and I mean you've had the feedback. You do really good preachers as well.
Yeah, but I feel like at this point I'm confident in what my style of preaching is. But I think I could do with a bit more practice in actual preaching. Like I go through my life and just like be planning sermons in my head that will never see the light of day. well, yeah. I just think, maybe one day I would like to explore doing preaching more. I think it'll be fun, and I think I've got a bit of. I can tell a good story through a preach. Yeah, so I'd like to explore that more maybe one day.
I would like to, but this I don't think we've got enough time to do this. I would love to kind of see how you guys go about sermon prep.
Oh, we can go into that.
Okay. I mean, we've got 10 minutes until the hour.
Speaking of which, so me and Andrew are talking about Chat GBP today, and then we put in a prompt to write a sermon, and it actually wrote the sermon with the Bible verses, everything. It was serious.
Man, I'm gonna get AI sermons now. Yeah,
come on.
I know, right? Yeah.
Do you think AI sermons can be spirit filled?
You gotta look at what the AI is doing. All it's doing is kind of plagiarizing. It's not creating anything new. It's looking at this sermon, that sermon, that sermon, picking out a pattern and filling the pattern. So, depending on the training model, again, it can be. It's like. It's not the same, but it's like saying, flip to a page in the Bible. I don't know if you guys ever did that. Like, you'll be like, oh, read the Bible every day. And so one of the days is just open the Bible and then, okay, cool, we're on a genealogy. And that's your,
Habakkuk 2.
that's your reading for the day. Asking, can that be a spirit-filled way of it? Yeah, of course it can. God can use whatever. So, yeah, I think it can. And because it's not actually creating anything new, it's just effectively plagiarizing a bunch of sermons and finding a pattern and filling that pattern. God could use that as well.
Yeah, this is very much like God can speak through a donkey. But does he do it every day?
No, he doesn't.
And just because God can speak through a donkey, does that mean you go sit in front of every donkey and say, "What God said?"
Donkeys.
So yeah, God can work through AI, but it doesn't mean just hand over your responsibility to it to spit out the sermon for you. Yeah. So what is you guys' approach to sermon prep?
Robert, go ahead because my mom's calling.
So I feel like I approach sermon writing the same way I approach poetry.
Okay.
So I'll have my initial idea of the thing I want to base it around. Usually it's like a story in the Bible. I don't think I've ever. No, that's not true. I've done non-story preachers before, but usually it'll be based on like a story in the Bible, and then I'll just expound on that and like look at the story, see what themes are on the story, what themes I'd like to get across in a preach. Then I'll read through the passage, maybe look at a few commentaries on it. Just vibe for a little bit, start writing it, leave it for a bit, realize I've got 2 days left.
So you not
And then
write out
through
your sermon? You write out your sermon?
I do. Like I write out in my head first, and I'll jot it down on paper. I've never been one of those people who can just like speak off the dome for like 20 minutes on a preach. That's I don't trust myself to be able to do that.
When you write it down, out of interest, do you write it such that you could like literally read the sermon?
Yes.
verbatim?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's more just a comfort thing. Just so if I ever get to a point where like I forget my point or I don't know what I'm saying, I can just like look, take it for a while, and then just go off again.
Nice.
And there was I watched this thing about what's his name? Who was that Billy Graham? Is that his name?
Yeah. I don't know if that's his name, but there's a preacher called Billy Graham.
That's a big guy. Yeah.
The famous one.
Yeah, Billy Graham.
Yeah. So I was watching a documentary about him, and he said something that stuck with me. That like whenever he does a preach, he wants to always make sure that his preach always comes back to the cross and Jesus and what he did. And so that's really stuck with me. So that I try and make sure that whenever I preach, whatever I preaching about, I bring it back to Jesus at the end. Oh yeah, so that's me.
Cool. For me, it depends. So if I'm asked to speak about a topic, or I'm asked to speak about something in particular, which I find easier, then it's just researching that thing in the Bible and trying to find a holistic view on whatever the topic is through the entirety of the Bible. Find something that's true about that topic throughout the entirety of the word, or even if there's nuance. It's easier to sort of research a topic biblically and then present my findings. But if it's going to be a preach that like I've just been asked to preach, it's I normally only ever say yes if I feel like God's been saying something before. So it would be that like I don't know, there'll be a week or over the week I'm thinking about a particular thing, or I'm thinking about, or God's put a certain thing on my heart and I'm thinking about it. And then that week someone asked me to preach. And I'm like, okay, cool, I'll do it because I feel maybe God is talking about this. And then it will be what's God saying about that. And again, trying to confirm what I think, or trying to vet what I think God is saying against the word to make sure that it correlates, or to make sure that it's true. And there have been instances where it's like, oh, actually, nah, if you put this in context, it's not true. I'll get rid of that. But
what's that process look like for you?
So that would be verifying what the Bible says about whatever it is. I'm thinking. So if God is saying, if God's talking about, for instance, like hearing his voice more, or hearing his voice more clearly. And I remember when I was thinking about that, I was thinking along the lines of being able to read from afar. So I think I'd just done an eye test, and I didn't know if I cheated on the eye test or not, because walking in, I'd looked at the little diagram thing. And I was like, I couldn't memorize all of it in the seconds that I walked past it.
Yeah.
But how much did that help with me knowing what the letters were? And then sort of seeing that same dynamic play out when I'm looking at like the nutritional information on a orange can, and it's always in small print, isn't it? But if you know what it is, then no matter how far away it is, you're more likely to be able to read it, as it were.
Yeah.
And
Quick question.
God, sorry.
Just a quick question. Do you feel like when you're like coming, you're like trying to cultivate a point, but then there might be times when it can be contradicted. Do you feel it's necessary to like put an asterisk next to that point and say it that
Yeah.
this just might work 8 or 9 times out of 10, but then 1 or 2 times out of 10 this might not be the case.
Or actually present the contradicting views. It's so I'm sorry, I went off on a tangent, but yeah, I'd almost be preparing a sermon in my head, and then someone asked me to do a sermon, and I'll just verify it. But then in terms of when I go to prepare or write or whatever, I am looking at it from the view of, okay, this is what I think God is saying, but then also, could this be argued against? Could I be wrong in this? And I'm also looking at that aspect of things, and it's maybe somewhat an antagonistic way of looking at it, because I'm like, if someone wanted to come and debunk what I'm saying, would I be prepared for it, and would they be right in debunking it? Am I wrong? And so I also research that aspect of things as well, and try as best I can to present that. And yeah, it does mean not holding a certain view too tightly, because then you end up trying to prove the view as opposed to, just vetting whether or not it's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what sort of constitutes that process.
So do you write yours down as well, like word for word?
No, because I actually find that stressful, because I feel like I'd be either I'm reading it and then I, lose my place in it, and then I have to go and find my place. Or I read it so much I try and memorize it and then I forget. So I write down the points. I try and write the points, and then if I've got time, I will do the sermon a few times and make sure that it all lines up and I know what I'm going to say. But I write bullet points that can then be expanded later on. The first draft is always like a full stream of consciousness sort of thing.
Oh wow, okay.
I try and narrow that down to points.
Nice. Yeah, these are different approaches and different endpoints as well.
How about yourself, just out of interest?
I think for me, and this is like a expectation, not expectation, but like something I placed on myself. Would I say I placed it on myself? I felt like I was led to it. I want to be ready to give a sermon at a drop of a hat.
So like,
and it's not a case of have it prepped, polished, boom, like none of that. So some of the stuff that kind of convicts me is when Peter was called to Cornelius's house after having a vision 3 times, don't call certain unclean that I have called clean. And Cornelius was like, we want to hear the words that God has given you. But God hadn't given him any words. He just preached the gospel. And how Paul can just rock up into any town and just start chopping it up with them. And being like, yo, like, and even as it says, always be ready to give a defense for your faith. That's slightly different from a sermon, but wanting to be in a space where I can get into it with anyone at any given point in time. And if at a drop of a hat, someone's like, oh, cool, like, just share something, I would have enough stored up within me that I can share. That doesn't negate, God, what are you saying for this people? So what I tend to do is, if someone is to ask me to preach, I would just pray to see God, like, should I go for it? Should I not? If I kind of sense, yeah, go for it. Whether I have something or not, I'll be like, all right, cool. And then I just spend time in prayer, just like, God, what are you saying for these people? Once I feel like I've gotten something predominantly around the scripture, like there'll be a particular scripture or an idea or something that links back to a scripture, then I just read that scripture. I read it and meditate and read it and meditate. There was a time when I was asked to give a sermon on the book of Mark, the entire book. So I read the book of Mark like every day and just meditating on it. And like I used to do a lot, I used to sit on commentaries a lot, but what I again, as I said initially, I'm not listening to people. I haven't been in as many commentaries as well. So I've sat with just praying and trying to see what God is saying about it. And trying to approach it from a biblical theology sort of perspective where I'm looking at how this thing that God has told me has kind of played out throughout the Bible. So if it's a case of God's grace or whatever, like God is going to come through or whatever, then it's like how it's kind of played out throughout the Bible. So I'll center on this, but I'll kind of draw a timeline of God's faithfulness throughout the Bible as well. I don't tend to give sermons. I tend to have more conversations. But when I have done sermons, I have very much been a bullet point sort of person. Sometimes they didn't even have bullet points. I just had the topic and I've kind of prayed on it and stuff and I've spoken. But the one that I was really stood out to me, my cues were images. So I didn't have any bullet points. I just had images that were portrayed that were like projected. And then I would kind of preach. And then as I reached the end, I'll be like, okay, this is the end of this section, next picture. And then the picture, okay, cool, this is what I wanted to talk about. And I kind of preach about the next part again. So that's been it. So I think I am still in that space of, okay, if I was to be preaching consistently, what would my style of preaching be? I don't know. Yeah. I don't know, but I do also enjoy more conversation than just hearing information from me. So yeah, I don't know what it would be like, but that's my process. Commentaries and stuff are still there, but it's almost like 25% of the process. Trying to get external input and stuff. 75% of the process is literally just sitting before God and saying, God, what are you saying?
That's good. And no matter what, our preacher style is like, God can use us all.
Facts.
I mean, you can use a donkey, so.
So if you can use a donkey, you can use Peter. Amen.
Facts.
All right, let's round up. I'm tired now.
Fam.
Hook up.
Can I go first?
Yeah, you can do your thing. Nah, do your thing.
No, I was just gonna say Wakanda Forever, innit? It's on Disney Plus now.
Is it on?
Well, say that again.
Now.
What happened?
It's on Disney Plus.
What is?
Wakanda Forever.
Oh yeah, I heard.
Yeah. So I'm about to watch it for the first time.
Wakanda Forever.
Yeah. So that's my hookup. Go check out Letitia Wright because she's Christian in Wakanda Forever.
My hookup, My Hero Academia. Watch that anime.
Plus Ultra, baby.
Come on. No fear. I am here.
My hookup is a song. Tom Jones by Tom Jones.
Hey.
Called Delilah.
I think I heard that.
Is Tom Jones? Is he Sir Tom Jones? Is that? It's not unusual.
I think
it's Sir Tom Jones.
He's not British.
Oh, he's not British.
I don't think you can be knighted if you're not British. Or maybe he is. I don't know.
Was he on The Voice?
Yes.
Yeah, that's. Oh, I don't know if he's Sir, but that's the guy. Yeah, cool.
I can look up, but yeah. So like this song is like one of the anthems that people sing during like Welsh rugby games, and like the story tells. I mean, the song tells a story about a guy who finds out his wife, or no, his like girlfriend or woman is cheating on him, so he ends up going over and killing her. And they be singing this song at Welsh rugby games, and so. And like I think there's been like a lot of scandal, like sexual scandals within rugby at the minute. So they don't want like choirs and stuff to be singing that song at the games anymore.
Mm.
And so I went to listen, like, let me see what the song is about. And the song is actually a bop. The story it tells is really good. So Tom Jones, Delilah. Oh yeah, I was gonna check. Let's see if he's just Tom Jones. Oh, he's Welsh. He is
Yeah.
Tom Jones.
Yeah.
I thought he was American. Oh, yeah, he's 82.
Yeah.
Sex bomb. You're my sex bomb.
Okay. Terrorist.
Anyway, shout out Rude for the intro outro music, Calvin Turner for the Audrey Amaze logo, Twitter at Defense UK, Instagram at TBS Furnace. You can email us at tbsfurnace@mail.com. You can find us at soundcloud.com/Black no apostrophe, on all good podcasting websites and apps. So Black First with the apostrophe. And that's it. So this is the Blacksmith Furnace signing out. Blah, blah.
Man yawning on the live.